What are the two words a home buyer fears most? Bidding war. As soon as they find out they're competing against multiple offers, many buyers either panic or despair. But not you, because in today's video, you're going to be learning a winning formula I call the 5-4-5. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. I'm Greg Somerville, a realtor here in Richmond, Virginia. I make these videos for anyone who's thinking about a move to this unique little city. If that's you, feel free to text or give me a call and introduce yourself. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. And if you'd like a free copy of my Richmond home buying guide, just click the link in the description below. Though home sales are starting to lag in other parts of the country, Richmond continues to be a hot market. The best properties are attracting multiple offers. It's not uncommon to see a house go under contract within 4 to 5 days of listing. One of my colleagues sent a text yesterday saying her client had lost to another buyer who waived the appraisal, waived the inspection, offered $63K above list price, a $30K EMD, and a free 6-week rent back. Hard to compete with that. But it's not impossible. Someone is going to win this bidding war. And if you're my client, I am going to fight hard to make sure that's you. How? With my secret formula. A multi-pronged strategy I call the 5-4-5. All sellers typically want the same thing. The highest price with the least amount of stress. They want a quick, clean closing. The fewer the contingencies included in your offer, the better its chance of winning. That's why my first 5 strategies focus on removing contingencies and reducing the seller's risk. For a seller, the best offer is a cash offer with solid proof of funds. This immediately eliminates several contingencies and enables a quick closing. Problem is, not many of us have $500,000 sitting in our piggy banks. Second best is conventional financing with a pre-approval letter from a respected local lender. The letter should be dated the same day as your offer. It should list the highest price you're willing to offer, not more, not less. Once your offer is submitted, a good lender will follow up with the listing agent, confirming that you're a well-qualified buyer. If you have to go with FHA or VA financing, just be aware. These types of loans may save you money, but they create more risk for the seller. They involve a more rigorous appraisal inspection that can force the seller to make costly repairs, and they often take longer to close. When it comes to the inspection, buyers and sellers have opposite goals. The buyer wants to know every little thing that's wrong with the house and wants the seller to either fix it or pay for it. For the seller, this can open up a big, ugly can of worms. So how can you reduce the seller's risk when it comes to the inspection? The biggest thing you can do is waive the inspection completely. Sellers love this, but this may give you the cold sweats, especially if it's an older home. One way to reconcile these conflicting goals is to schedule a mini inspection, a walk and talk, before you submit your offer. Within 45 minutes, a licensed inspector can diagnose the condition of your roof, foundation, HVAC, plumbing, and other major systems. It costs about $250. If the report is positive, you may feel okay about waiving the inspection. And if it's not, you probably just avoided a nightmare. If you aren't comfortable waiving the inspection completely, here are 3 things you can do to make the inspection easier for the seller to swallow. Instead of the normal 10-day inspection period, do it in 5. Tell the seller that you won't ask for repairs or credits on any single item that costs below $500 or $1,000. In certain cases, the seller might appreciate an as-is inspection, which specifies that you won't ask for any repairs. With most loans, the lender is going to require an appraisal. What risk does the appraisal create for the seller? Well, if the appraised value comes back lower than your offer price, then the sale price is no longer guaranteed. According to the contract, buyer and seller now have to negotiate, and that often means that the final sale price gets lowered to match the appraised value. If you want the seller to choose your offer, cover part or all of the appraisal gap, the difference between the appraised value and your offer price. The lender won't finance this appraisal gap, so you'll need to have some funds in reserve. But the seller who doesn't have to worry about an appraisal is a happy seller, and that may be just enough to make your offer the winning offer. I want my buyers to get the best possible deal. Because sellers are often willing to pay part or all of the buyer agent's compensation, I typically include that request in my offer. This is especially true if a house has been sitting on the market for a while. But in a competitive situation, the rules change, and every little advantage counts. Consider asking the seller for less of the buyer agent's compensation than you might otherwise. If you ask less of the seller than other buyers do, your offer may well come out on top. If your offer is contingent on selling another property, you create a huge risk for the sellers. What if they accept your offer and then your home doesn't sell, or at least not quickly? What if the people buying your house decide to back out at the last minute, or their financing falls through? These are the scenarios that keep sellers awake at night. Here are 3 tips for minimizing the risk to the seller. Before making an offer, settle on your own home first, if possible, and include a 30 or 60-day rent back. Secure a bridge loan from a lender. This enables you temporarily to carry 2 mortgages. With the bridge loan, your offer isn't contingent on the sale of your own home. A third option is to submit your offer with a right of first refusal. Your agent can explain what that means. Now that we've reduced the seller's risk by tackling the 5 big contingencies, let's look at 4 ways to sweeten the deal. When do the sellers prefer to close? If they've already vacated the property, a quick close is probably going to be ideal. Cash offers can close in 10 to 14 days. A conventional loan can close in 3 to 4 weeks, with 30 days being standard. But not all sellers are going to want a quick close, especially if they're in the process of moving themselves. So find out in advance what settlement date is best for them and put that in your offer. The listing should specify what items the sellers are leaving behind: refrigerator, washer, dryer, etc. If it's not clear, your agent should confirm with the other agent before requesting such items in the purchase agreement. You don't want to upset the seller by asking for personal property that's not intended to convey. Your agent will include the amount of your earnest money deposit, or EMD, in the purchase agreement. 1% of the purchase price is generally considered standard. To sweeten the deal in a competitive situation, double or triple the size of your EMD. This shows the seller how serious you are about the property and demonstrates that you have some cash in reserve. In highly competitive situations, you may even consider making your EMD non-refundable. Definitely consult with your agent before taking that risk. Many sellers need a few weeks after closing to vacate the property. If your schedule allows, you may want to consider giving them a 30-day rent back. Sweeter still, offer a free 30-day rent back. Since you won't have to start making mortgage payments for about 6 weeks, this is a relatively easy concession to make, and it means a lot to the seller. Let's pause here for just a second. We've covered 9 strategies and we still have 5 to go. Maybe you're feeling like my wife so often did at our family discussions around the table, where she just wanted to do this at the end of the table. Time out. Listen, I'm not expecting you to remember all this. That's your agent's job. If you're thinking about buying a house in the Richmond area and you don't already have a good agent, text me, call me, interview me. If you think I'd be a good fit, I'd love to help. And if not, I can give you some great recommendations. All right, let's get back to the last 5 strategies. The formula is working. You've minimized the seller's stress. You've worked hard to sweeten the deal. Now with these final 5 strategies, you are gonna set yourself apart from all the other buyers. In an ideal world, you'll offer enough to beat the next best offer, but no more than you have to. That's what the escalation clause is for. It lets you specify how much more than the next best offer you are willing to pay, up to a specified price cap. Here's how it works. Let's say a house is listed for $425,000, but you know the seller has already received multiple offers. So you offer above list price in order to make a good, strong first impression and come in at $430,000. But you also include an escalation clause stating that you're willing to pay $5,000 more than the next best offer, up to a ceiling of $451,000. If the seller accepts your offer, they need to show a copy of the competing offer that triggered the escalation clause. This strategy has helped many of my clients win the bidding war. The contract includes a specific day and time when your offer expires. The listing agent will often ask that offers be submitted by a particular time, and then will request 12 to 24 hours for a response from the seller. But in some cases, a strong offer with a short acceptance deadline, like 4 hours, can motivate a seller to make a decision right away, even if there are other showings or an open house on the calendar. Now, I admit this can be a risky strategy. If the other agent or the seller perceives that you're being pushy, this can backfire. Before you try this, have your agent ask if the seller is open, and ask what kind of perfect offer would motivate the seller to act now. In a normal contract, the seller pays for the termite inspection, but as the buyer, you can offer to pay this expense and any treatment that may be required. It's a small gesture, but it means one last thing that the seller has to worry about. Only consider this if the house seems to be in good condition and any major termite damage seems unlikely. Maybe you've heard about the real estate love letter, an email or an actual letter from the buyer's telling the sellers how much you love their home. Agents tend to have mixed feelings about these. The National Association of Realtors discourages love letters because they can easily violate fair housing ethics. But if done well, they can tip the seller scales in your favor. To use the love letter effectively, here are 3 tips. Avoid any reference to race, religion, gender, etc. Don't include any photos. And check with the other agent before sending to make sure they're okay with it. The final strategy may be the most important. Choose your agent carefully. Negotiating strategies are only as strong as the agents who deploy them. You'll want someone who communicates clearly and respectfully, someone who pays close attention to details and deadlines, someone who's firm but is fair. When interviewing agents, ask them to give specific examples of how they help former clients win a bidding war. And if they give a great answer, sign them up. Well, there you have it. My 5-4-5 strategy for helping clients win the bidding war. If you found it helpful, hit the like or subscribe. And if you have questions or if anything was unclear, my number's on the screen. Feel free to text or call at any time. Well, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.